In this video, I explain the role of add special method in Python classes. If you try to add two instances of the point, as you can see here, for example, 0.4 plus 0.5, to create a new instance called 0.6, which have 8 and 10 as the values of its two attributes x and y, you bump into an error message. It says that the plus operator is not supported for point. How can you support the plus operator for the class point? We already know that the int, float, and string classes support the plus operator. How can we add plus to our own user-defined classes? So what we know is that 1 plus 2 returns 3, and 3 is itself an int like 1 and 2. In a similar way, 0.6 is also the return, the result of the operand, the operation of add is also a point here. You need to make that decision. Sometimes you, in some cases, you may say that, okay, the result can be another class. There is no problem with that. So we have to add a special method add to the class point for this to happen. But note that Python will change the plus operator to a add operator, and it replaces this add has two arguments, the operand right before the plus sign and the operand right after the plus sign. So when you try to add the add to the class, you need to provide two arguments, self and other. In str, you only had self. As for add, you need to have self and other. And in this case, self is going to be P2 and other is going to be P3, assuming that this add is called for P1. So first of all, you need to specify what should be the result of this add. You know that it's going to be a point, so you need to create an instance of the point. So you do that with p equal to point with capital P and parentheses. Then you try to assign values to the attributes of this new instance of point. You would say that p.x equal to self.x plus other.x. p.y is equal to self.y plus other.y. And at the end, you need to return this p, this instance of p that you just created. Assume that the Dutch programmer already delivered a class called SimpleFraction to the American programmer. The SimpleFraction class has an initializer that creates two attributes for this, for an instance of this class, numerator and denominator. If the two arguments are not provided, the two arguments of n and d are not provided, the class is going to be 0 over 1. The Dutch programmer also created str, as you can see. If you try to print an instance of SimpleFraction, it prints that fraction, the numerator and denominator separated by a slash. So if it's 1 and 5, if 1 and 5 are given as two arguments to the initializer, it prints 1/5. So now the the exercise is like this. You have to pause here for a minute and try to add dunder add in a way that the plus sign can add two fractions and create a new instance of simple fraction, which contains the summation of the two instances. So here is how this is being done. First of all, you need to figure out how the dunder add would look like. You know that if you have f3 equal to f1 plus f2, that is going to be changed to f3 equal to dunder add and f1 and f2 as two arguments. You also know that f1 is going to be replaced self, and f2 replaces other. So add dunder add self and other have to be there all the time. Then you create a new instance of that class simple fraction. You're going to call it R. For the time being, you're going to assume that it includes 0 over 1, which is 0. Then you try to calculate the attributes of this new class. This class has a numerator and a denominator. Calculating denominator is going to be easy. You can simply multiply the two denominators of the two uh, classes that are the input to this method, self and other. As for numerator, it's a little bit more complex, but if you know algebra, it should be easy for you. After uh, setting the attributes of this new instance of the class simple fraction called R, you have to return R. So as you can see here, we always start with creating an instance of a class for dunder add, then setting the attributes, and then returning that instance. In the next class, I explain how we can use an instance method inside another instance method.